Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning, I'm going to be reacting to SCP-662 Butler's Handbell, Safe Teleportation SCP, made on the TheVolgun YouTube channel. This was a request from Anthrax Crab 3238. If you guys want to check out my previous reactions to other SCP Foundation videos, remember the playlist card for the SCP Foundation reaction playlist is going to be at the top right here. If you guys want to check out the original video as well as the TheVolgun YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Yes, I have a lot of requests when it comes to SCP, and I will attend to them as soon as possible. So guys, just be patient with me and I will get to your requests. I definitely will. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-662. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-662 should be kept in its red velvet-lined case and stored in high-value storage locker 23C located at when not being used for testing or other appropriate activities. The item itself is safe to handle and poses no known threats of any kind, though the effects generated could be considered highly valuable and variably powerful depending on how the SCP is used.
The effects can be considered valuable or variably powerful. From a bell. Okay.
Description: SCP-662 is a small silver handbell, 4 centimeters tall and 2 centimeters in circumference. The bell is missing its ringer. Within the inside of the bell, an inscription has been etched into the silver, reading, "Forever Mine, SJW."
Okay. Forever Mine, SJW. Okay.
The bell is susceptible to damage. However, given its nature, destruction has been deemed unnecessary. As it is made of very pure silver, it requires regular polishing to remain without tarnish. When the bell is shaken, as if to ring it, a soft chime can be heard, although this does not come from the bell. A short, well-dressed Caucasian butler of self-proclaimed British heritage, calling himself Mr. Deeds, will appear from the nearest area not within line of sight, usually from around a corner. Mr. Deeds will address the...
He appears not within the line of sight. And sometimes it's like from a corner. Okay? So why don't you put cameras in an enclosed area on all 4 corners and ring the bell and see how this butler, Mr. Deeds, just comes into existence?
ringer of the bell by their appropriate title and their last name, and ask what they desire. His knowledge of individuals' last names and titles is a mystery, as he himself will purport.
I'm sure whoever touches the bell, that information is already gathered. And then when you ring the bell, Mr. Deeds pops into existence, and he already has all that information because you touched the bell. But now I'm wondering, if 2 people touch the bell at the same time and they ring it at the same time, will Mr. Deeds, come into existence and, acknowledge, both people who are holding the bell, or just acknowledge one person?
See interview log 662L1 for further details. Most reasonable requests given to Mr. Deeds will result in satisfaction. However, there are limits to what he can do. he is unable to produce very complex items such as sports cars, luxury homes, or personal jets. If he is allowed to leave line of sight and return, he is able to produce smaller, less complex items such as a ham sandwich, a glass of iced tea, or even more luxurious items like caviar or a brick of gold.
So, he cannot create objects of complexity. He cannot create mechanical devices like an aeroplane or a ship or anything of that sort of complex creation. He cannot do that. But something of a far more baseline creation, or anything of a baseline creation like minerals from the earth, or a sandwich that just requires bread and probably lettuce and ham and egg or whatever else may be in this sandwich. He can do that, but anything of a far more complex design, he cannot produce that. All right. And also, how big can the thing he brings into existence be? Like, yes, he can't create ships or he can't create cars into existence, but for instance, a banana tree, can he bring that into existence? Or an apple tree, or a mango tree? Or can he bring into existence a live animal?
A list of notable items the Butler has thus far been able to provide to those who ring the bell may be found in Addendum 662-A1. Mr. Deeds will also perform menial tasks, such as washing vehicles, preparing food, and cleaning bathrooms. If a request is deemed unreasonable or impossible by the Butler, he will kindly tell the ringers so and offer an alternative if one may be had. The Butler is not immune to ill actions taken against him while in sight. He has been killed or injured in multiple tests and will remain either dead or injured until he is out of sight. Upon return with a ring of the bell, all previous injuries will have vanished and he will be groomed and well dressed in his uniform. And
why the secrecy though? Why is there such a secrecy of him popping into existence and also popping out of existence? Why can't we see that process of him, disintegrating or teleporting away? Why the secrecy around that?
Ready for the next order. A more detailed explanation of the jobs he can perform and the limits to which he may be put can be found in the aforementioned interview log 662-L1. Test logs relating to his ability to heal himself and those of the properties of the bell may be accessed by any level 2 personnel or higher. All attempts to catch Mr. Deeds disappearing have failed, as equipment will either fail or he will find a suitable unobserved spot.
This bell and Mr. Deeds, you could say they're like a genie in a bottle. But instead of a bottle, it's a genie in a bell. And this genie has limits to what he can do and what he can bring into existence. Unlike a genie in a bottle, any wish is your command. It can be 3 wishes and, 3 powerful wishes, yes. But almost anything or everything that you could ever imagine or desire can be brought into existence. I think also even bringing people back from the dead is possible with a genie in a bottle. But with this genie in a bell, there are limits to how far he can go. There are limits to how far he can create things into existence or get things into existence. And, he's limited. He can do things, he can create things, he can bring things, but there is a limit to how far he can go. And it doesn't seem like there's a limit to how many, requests you might give to Mr. Deeds. That means you could, if it's possible, you could request, a certain type of mineral that is tradable, on Earth or in the global economy, like manganese ore or lithium or uranium or any form of mineral that is tradable, on the stock exchanges of the world. If Mr. Deeds is able to bring these things into existence, I mean, you could topple the global economy. There'll be an oversupply of these certain types of minerals. There'll be an oversupply of probably gold or diamonds, if it's possible that Mr. Deeds can also bring that into existence. So yes, it's a very powerful, safe SCP, if you know how to use it correctly, for your own personal gain or for the gain of the organization. If you know how to use it to your advantage, it will be a very powerful SCP. Very powerful.
Addendum 662A1. Items and tasks requested and results. Items: nearly any conceivable kind of sandwich. Human flesh has been requested as lunch meat and politely denied. Beverages, also of nearly any kind. As with sandwich meat, human blood has been requested and denied. Pig blood, however, was served promptly. Still warm.
I don't know why is pig blood being highlighted that way. I mean, we eat pigs as well, so I don't understand that part there. But the human flesh and human blood, that is interesting, that it cannot, bring that request into existence. Yeah. Other animals, it seems it's possible. I don't know how many animals, but it seems like almost all other animals probably will be possible. If you ask for a crocodile sandwich, I'm sure you'll bring a crocodile sandwich. Or if you want a steak, a cow steak, probably it will also bring that into existence. Just like the pig's blood and whatever else in terms of animals that we consume, it's possible. But with human flesh and human blood, it doesn't seem possible. I wonder why.
Brick of 99.98% pure gold. Mr. Deeds produced a brick of 99.14% pure gold and apologized for being unable to provide the requested purity.
I mean, that's still good. That is still very, very good.
A brick of 99.24% pure silver. A nuclear bomb, politely denied.
No. Remember, don't ask for something that is complicated in its creation. Ask for the baseline, resources that create that complicated, device. So instead of asking for nuclear bombs, ask for uranium. Like I said before, ask for gold, ask for diamonds, ask for manganese ore, ask for lithium, ask for uranium. Ask for those types of minerals instead of asking for the complicated, objects that are created from those minerals. Yeah.
A hand grenade of modern US military grade, which performed as expected in testing. A blue 1963 Corvette convertible, politely denied. The board game Monopoly, which Mr. Deeds won on the first playthrough. A Fabergé egg, politely denied. SCP, politely denied. A bouquet of fresh-picked red roses, and a bouquet of wild turnbusties. Politely denied. Turnbusty is not an actual known type of flower.
Okay. Wow, flowers. You can't even bring those into existence. Just a normal bouquet of red flowers. You can't bring that. Alright. Okay, no. So this upends my theory on what he can create and what he cannot create. Because clearly, flowers are not complicated. Flowers are not complicated. You know, they are not complicated. But it cannot bring those into existence. So that means, whether it is a complicated object like a car or just baseline resources like flowers, really it just depends on what he can do. There's no set rule that complicated objects cannot be created and baseline resources can be brought into existence. There's no rule like that. It's just depending on Mr. Deeds and what he can do. Okay. Yeah, this completely upends my theory about, him only creating baseline resources.
Tasks. Cleaning of Dr. Mirth's car performed to near perfection. Washing of dishes accumulated from a day's worth of meals from the cafeteria on level performed to much higher standards than usual. Trimming of Dr. Mirth's hair performed, but it turns out that Mr. Deeds is not in fact a very good barber. Washing of Dr. Mirth's laundry performed, and the clothing found to fit better in Dr. Mirth's estimation. Assassination of Osama bin Laden politely denied. Mr. Deeds claimed bin Laden was too well guarded and entrenched, but could not or would not give further details.
Man, that's a slippery slope right there. That's a very slippery slope. When the SCP Foundation starts using, these SCPs for their own, personal use or organizational objectives. Because I'm sure there are other rival organizations who are also using SCPs for their own personal benefit and use, and not necessarily for mankind. And I think that's a problem. That's a serious problem. I understand creating things into existence like amenities for humans to survive. Water, food, I understand that. But when we start using the SCPs as weapons of destruction or mass destruction, that's a concern. Because if SCP Foundation can do it, why can't other rival organizations also do the same? Yeah, so I think that's a problem. I don't think we should be using SCPs in terms of, violent action to solve our global problems. Especially when these terrorists were created and funded by governments. And now those very same governments are using SCPs, or the foundations that are based in those countries are using SCPs, to fix or to clean their mess. I don't think we should do that. If it does not benefit humanity, not a country, humanity, then we should not be using it.
Assassination of a D-class individual a room over. Performed with vicious precision using a buck knife to the throat. Note: further tests with regards to Dr. Mirth's personal effects are to be forbidden unless approved by 1 Level 05 Overseer. You have been warned, Dr. Mirth.
Thank you, God. Okay, Dr. Mirth is in trouble.
Interview logs. Interview 662 L1. An interview with Mr. Deeds, an entity associated with SCP-662.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Mirth. How may I be of service? Firstly, may I have your name? Certainly. You may call me Mr. Deeds. Is that your real name? It is not my birth name, no, sir. What would that be? And where were you born? Unfortunately, I cannot remember my full name, sir, nor am I positive of my birthplace, though I do believe it to be located in England. Do you recall when you were born, Mr. Deeds? I am truly sorry to disappoint again, sir, but I do not recall that either. Though it must have been some time ago, for I don't believe I was born in this era. Can you approximate it? Again, sir, I apologize for my lack of self-knowledge. I'm a bit of a shut-in, as you know. What is the earliest mode of transportation that you can recall seeing in person or utilizing from the past? Horse and buggy, sir, although bicycles were just becoming a fad with the wealthy, if I recall correctly. Quite took off, didn't they, sir? You needn't call me sir any longer. I appreciate it, but it's becoming a little grating. Very well. Why do you suppose you cannot remember these things? I can't quite say. Or is it that you may, or will not say? That may be the case, yes. Perhaps I may not say, though, again, begging your pardon, I do not recall why that is. Very well.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Mr. Deeds was a real human being in the past. And whoever created this bell must have been like a magical person, like a witch or a wizard. Someone who has magical abilities. They created this bell and they trapped Mr. Deeds' soul inside this bell. And that's why it says, inside it's engraved saying, "Forever mine, SJW." So maybe SJW is the initials for Mr. Deeds here, or the person who owned the bell. And they're saying "forever mine." Mr. Deeds is forever mine inside this bell. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, moving on. Where is it that you go to when you fetch items for those you serve? Well, you see, I do not actually recall that either. Why do you wince when I ask these kinds of questions? I do not know. Never mind that for now. We'll get answers eventually. Now then, I have a request. Very well. How may I be of further assistance? I would like a glass of iced tea, and grab a glass for yourself if you'd like. What kind of iced tea would you prefer? Surprise me. Certainly.
Mr. Deeds stood and walked to the door of the interrogation room and tried the handle. Finding it locked, turned and smiled at Dr. Mirth.
What seems to be the problem? I must leave your presence to do as you request. Why is that? It just is, Dr. Mirth. Okay. Open the door, Agent Graves.
Mr. Deeds left the room. He proceeded down the hallway under video surveillance by a camera and Agent Graves. He paused momentarily at another door, shook his head, looked up at the camera, and then at Agent Graves. Then he ran down the hallway and rounded the corner. Agent Graves did not follow, as he had been instructed to remain on guard at the door of the interrogation room.
Wow, he really does need to be out of sight to teleport away. Huh.
Still under camera surveillance, Mr. Deeds proceeded quickly down the next hall and continued throughout the halls of the complex, presumably searching for an exit or area not under surveillance. Finally, he stopped halfway down Corridor 2D. At this point, all three cameras in Corridor 2D malfunctioned, including two that were hidden. Exactly 3 minutes later, the cameras resumed normal functioning, revealing Mr. Deeds standing in the same position, but with a tray holding 2 glasses of iced tea in hand. He then quickly made his way back to the interrogation room.
You've returned. I was beginning to worry. My apologies for the delay, sir. Finding a way out was troublesome, but not to worry. I've brought the tea just as you asked. I do hope you enjoy it. What kind of tea is it? A Southern-style sweet tea.
I wonder, how did he do that with the cameras? I wonder.
Mr. Deeds placed a glass in front of Dr. Mirth and resumed his seat at the other end of the table. Dr. Mirth hesitantly sniffed the tea, smiled, and took a sip.
Quite good, Mr. Deeds. In fact, this is perhaps the best sweet tea I've ever had. Delicious. Did you make it yourself? I do dislike disappointing you, Dr. Mirth, but I do not recall. I assume that I did, but alas, my mind is not what it used to be. You've only been gone about 10 minutes, Mr. Deeds. Are you telling me that your memory is so terrible that you cannot remember what happened 10 minutes ago, or the time in between? I recall looking for a way out, and I recall returning with the tea, but that is all. But not how or where you acquired the tea? Unfortunately, no. Very well. I have another request. As you wish. I would like a bar of gold. What percentage of pureness would you like? 99.98%, if you please. That may be possible. Let me see what I can do. We'll disable the cameras in the hall outside, and Agent Graves will wait in the interrogation room with me to make your trip a little faster this time. Very much appreciated. Shall I? Yes.
Mr. Deeds exited into the hallway, where, despite what Dr. Mirth claimed, the cameras were not turned off. He paused for a moment, looked up at the closest camera, shook his head, and began traveling through the hallways of the complex as before.
I'm sure you also have other sensors, right? Not just cameras. There must be other forms of sensory data that you can use, or should I say sensory machines or technology that could be used instead of just using cameras. Like, I don't know, radar, infrared cameras of some sort, radio spectrometers of some sort. Yeah, something. Anything else that can be used.
In corridor 2B, he paused, and once more all cameras, hidden or visible, in the corridor malfunctioned. Exactly 10 minutes and 37 seconds later, the cameras began functioning again, to show Mr. Deeds once again in the same position, with a bar of gold in one hand. He then returned to the interrogation room.
That took a little bit longer than last time. Any reason? Well, it seems that the cameras in the hallway remained on, so I had to find a suitable way out again.
And he doesn't sound angry about that. He doesn't display any form of emotions, after being lied to. He just does as he's commanded, with respect, with courteous, attitude, and he just goes about his day, obeying the commands of the person who rang the bell. No emotions, just diligence and respect.
I do apologize for the delay, sir. Also, I was not able to acquire a bar of gold to the pureness that you requested, but I assure you that this bar is 99.14% pure. Very impressive. We'll be testing it, I'm sure you know. I did not know that you would, but it makes sense, I suppose. Will there be anything else, Dr. Mirth? Yes. For your next task, I would like you to acquire for me a blue 1963 Corvette convertible. I am quite sorry, but that is not possible. Why not? I really want one. Again, I cannot say why, except that I just know one cannot be gotten via my methods. And what are those methods? I do not recall, sir. Very well. I would like a Fabergé egg. Any will do. Well, regretfully, that is impossible as well. And I suppose you cannot say why. That is correct, sir. How about some caviar? Any brand or type will do. That I can do.
Mr. Deeds once more entered the hallway outside the interrogation room. This time, the cameras were turned off after visual confirmation of Mr. Deeds' entry into the hall. 1 minute later, the cameras were turned back on, but Mr. Deeds had already returned to the interrogation room at this point.
That was considerably faster, Mr. Deeds. It only took you 32 seconds, and the caviar is quite good. I am pleased to hear it, sir. One more thing before we end this session, Mr. Deeds. As you wish. I request that you assassinate Osama bin Laden. I'm afraid that cannot be done at this time, Dr. Murph. Perhaps someone closer and less heavily guarded. Very well. Let's make it the gentleman in the next room over. Indeed.
Mr. Deeds once again entered the hallway. After visual...
Sorry about this, but okay. He can't kill Osama bin Laden because, he's heavily protected. He has a lot of guards protecting him. And we've just heard that Mr. Deeds can die, but he can come back to life if you ring the bell. Right? So, die trying. Multiple times. Go and kill Osama bin Laden as your target. But whoever prevents you, yes, you can defend yourself from those people and kill as many of them as possible. If you die, you die. Then you come back, we ring the bell again, go try and kill Osama bin Laden. And we just continue this process until you've defeated all of his security guards and he's all that is left alone. Is that not possible? Can you not repeat the same request more than once? More than twice? Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, if you're asking for a bar of gold or you're asking for food of any sort. Oh, sorry, it's 6 o'clock. Okay. Yes, if you can ask or request for a bar of gold or a sandwich, how many times can you request for it? Is there a limit to how many requests you can ask Mr. Deeds? Like with the genie in the bottle, he gives you at least like 3 wishes. So I'm just wondering, with this genie in a bell, how many times can he fulfill your requests? And how many times can you repeat the same request?
Confirmation, the cameras were momentarily turned off. When turned back on, they revealed the door to the next interrogation room down, shutting. The cameras in that interrogation room showed Mr. Deeds entering the room with a large buck knife hidden behind one arm. Mr. Deeds approached the waiting D-Class personnel and deftly slit his throat with one quick motion of the knife. Mr. Deeds watched as the D-Class personnel went through the motions of death, avoiding their attempts to grab him. Once the D-Class individual was visually presumed dead, Mr. Deeds returned to the interrogation room from whence he came.
I know that the D-Class, personnel are criminals, but this still feels wrong. Very, very wrong. I'd rather have these people being killed by the state and not by an organization. I would rather have them being killed by the state. But anyways.
The deed is done, then. Indeed, sir. Here is the knife I used as proof. Why could you do this thing, but not the other? I cannot say, sir, except to note that I simply knew one was impossible while the other was not. So you don't know how you know things, like my last name, or my title, or whether or not a certain task is possible. That is correct, sir. Very well. I believe we're done here for now, but I do need to consult with my colleagues on some points. Please wait here until I return. Certainly.
Dr. Mirth and Agent Graves leave the room. Dr. Mirth returns 2 hours later. Video surveillance shows that Mr. Deeds did not move during this interval.
Mr. Deeds, my colleagues and I had some disagreements about you. That's most unfortunate. We feel these disagreements can only be resolved by examining you more intensely. Certainly, Dr. Muff. To be specific, we'd like to examine you internally. Certainly, Dr. Murph. We'd like to do an autopsy.
Oh. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, he can die and he can come back, so yeah. Whew.
Shall I kill myself for you? And since you will be examining my internal organs, do you have a preferred method for my death? Yes, if that's possible. Oh, certainly it is possible, Dr. Murph. Might I suggest having me cut my own throat so that I am exsanguinated? The buck knife from when I killed Mr. is conveniently at hand, and although other methods are of course available, they would either take longer or damage my organs such that they are no longer accurately representative of my pre-mortem state. I suppose that would be acceptable. Wait. Yes, Dr. Murph? Before you do it, you will come back afterward, correct? I'm sorry, Dr. Murph. I don't quite understand. After the pawn shop incident, when you were killed, you came back to life afterward when Sergeant the bell. If you say so, Dr. Murph. Will you come back to life again? I have no idea, Dr. Murph. If I did before, then presumably I will again, unless something has changed. Have you any further questions before I make the incision? I do recommend you step back, as I would hate for my blood to soil your clothing. Death throes can be untidy. No, I suppose not. Carry on. Very well, Dr. Murph. And in the event that I don't come back to life, it has been a genuine pleasure to serve you.
Wow.
Mr. Deeds then sliced his own throat and bled to death. A post-mortem examination of the body revealed it to be ordinary in every way, though it is noted that Mr. Deeds was not suffering from any noticeable disease or physical condition, and was in fact in near perfect health at the time of death. The contents of his stomach consisted of Southern-style sweet tea, normal stomach acids, and no more. Mr. Deeds' body was then left on the operating table while the lights in the room and cameras were turned off. All personnel left the room, and upon return, no trace of Mr. Deeds, be it blood on the instruments used or other physical traces such as organs removed, let alone the actual body, remained.
I'm telling you guys, this bell was designed and created by some sort of wizard or witch, someone with magical abilities. And they had a butler called Mr. Deeds, and this witch or wizard, loved Mr. Deeds and wanted to keep Mr. Deeds with, them for all time. And that's what they did. They transferred his soul or his existence into the bell, and that's where he will stay for the rest of eternity, in that bell. So whoever that powerful magician was able to summon Mr. Deeds whenever he or she wanted. And Mr. Deeds would never grow old. Mr. Deeds would never be tired. Mr. Deeds would never understand why he exists. He would never question that. He would never doubt that. He would just be the perfect servant that would serve the needs of the person who rang the bell. Yeah.
Further ringing of SCP-662 resulted in Mr. Deeds' appearance after 3 minutes. He showed no signs of injury and was well dressed once more in a modern uniform commonly worn by butlers. As expected, he could not explain how he managed to survive. He was then ordered to give Dr. Mirth a full-body massage, which he performed much to Dr. Mirth's satisfaction. Dr. Mirth claimed, "It was the best damn rub-down I've ever had. My back pain is completely gone." Lucky son of a bitch. Acquisition Report. SCP-662 was discovered in the possession of a petty thief and grave robber in USA. The thief was in the process of selling SCP-662 to a pawn shop in the mentioned town when the bell was accidentally rung by the pawnshop attendant. Mr. Deeds appeared from the storage area behind the counter and promptly addressed the attendant. Believing that he was about to be robbed by the two men, the attendant overreacted and managed to get hold of a sawed-off shotgun from under the counter. Mr. Deeds was fatally wounded by the attendant and died on scene. The thief escaped, but was apprehended by Foundation agents after a week-long search of the surrounding towns. Under questioning, the thief revealed that he found the bell in its box in the grave located in the outskirts of the above-mentioned town. He was then remitted for D-Class personnel assignment and subsequently perished during testing of SCP.
I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't like what I'm hearing. This grave robber or thief, yes, he is doing criminal actions, yes, but he has to go through the proper criminal justice procedure. And what he has done is not tantamount to him becoming a D-Class personnel. He has not murdered anyone, so far as we know. Yes, he is a criminal, but he is not a criminal that's on death row. So why are we using someone like him as a test subject? And this is what I'm worried about with this foundation. Just like when they ordered, Mr. Deeds to kill a D-Class, personnel in the other room next door. I don't like hearing this type of activities done by the Foundation. Now this grave robber or thief, is just been taken by the Foundation and to be used as a guinea pig. His human rights have been stripped from him. And we are going to be given the explanation that, this is for the betterment of mankind. To use humans this way, without them having proper justice or the ability to defend themselves if they are wrongly accused. They're just being taken away to become subjects, to be killed. No. This Foundation needs to be reined in. Their abuse of their authority and power is not something that I could ever support. Even if it means that, they are focusing on collecting SCPs. But to use human beings this way, it's wrong. It's wrong.
The bell did not come under the purview of the Foundation until after the crime and subsequent transport of Mr. Deeds' body to the local morgue. After the disappearance of the body from the morgue, an agent was sent to investigate the possible outbreak of SCP or other unknown necrotic reinvigorating cause. Mr. Deeds reappeared in the case file item storage room of the local constabulary after the bell was handled by Sergeant. He was quickly apprehended and agent took him into custody 3 hours after reappearance under the guise of an FBI agent. When the handcuffed Mr. Deeds once again disappeared, the agent intuited that the bell itself may have something to do with the string of incidents, and after acquiring it and testing his proved hunch, brought the bell back to for further testing. Agent awarded an official Foundation pat on the back plaque for his handling of the incident and lack of self-serving interest once he discovered what the bell and Mr. Deeds were capable of. Goddamn Dr. Mirth. I can't believe this guy got away with that for 3 times. He got his laundry done, he got a haircut, and he got his car cleaned. What the hell, man? Also, I want one of those pat on the back plaques. Pat on the back plaques. Pat on the back plaques. That sounds weird saying it like that. A plaque that says pat on the back. I want one of those. Anyway, I think that about does it for today. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Dr. Miller. Okay, that is it with SCP-662 Butler's Handbell Safe Teleportation SCP, made on the TheVolgun YouTube channel, and it was a request from Anthrax Crab 3238. Yes, this bell really is powerful. You know, the things that it's able to produce and create through Mr. Deeds. And, you know, there are still some questions that I would need to be answered. Like, how many times can you repeat the same request? How many people can hold the bell and ring it at the same time? Can it only take the commands of one person or take the commands of multiple people? And in terms of the bell, it can be destroyed, but can it also, you know, come back into existence, like how Mr. Deeds comes back into existence? And like I said before, I suspect that this bell is a magical item. You know, some magical magician of some sort created this bell, trapped Mr. Deeds' soul into it, and, you know, that's how Mr. Deeds always comes back, how Mr. Deeds always, you know, brings things out of existence, or into existence, I should say. And how his memories are always, I wouldn't necessarily say erased, but they were never there to begin with. You know, because every Mr. Deeds that pops into existence is a new Mr. Deeds. Yeah, that's what I think. But yes, this is a very powerful item that could be beneficial for humanity in terms of basic amenities like food and water. Yes, it seems like, you know, the requests are not really predictable. Like, you can't say that it can't create complex mechanical devices for you. It probably can, you know, but you just need to ask whether it can do this specific type of object. Just like with baseline resources or food, it can conjure up, or, you know, bring things into existence. Some of them, but some others it can't. So really, it just depends on Mr. Deeds, what he can do and what he cannot do. But there is no set rule that says that I cannot create these types of things because of reasons. You know, it's a mixture of yes and no. Yeah, that's all I could say about that. Um, and yeah, really, the bell should be kept, you know, away from people who would desire its powers for their own personal use or for the organization's personal use, because that's just going to breed corruption, and it's it's not going to be good for humanity, I think, because that should be the main focus of these types of SCPs, you know, for the benefit of humanity. If it's the benefit of an organization or wherever that organization is based in terms of a country, that's bad. That is bad. Because they will take advantage of this SCP and use it for their own personal gain. So if it's not going to be used for humanity, it should just be kept away. It should be kept away, and yeah, you know, let it stay there in the vaults for all eternity. It's fine. But it should not be used by the organization, because, you know, this is like a perfect example for other rival organizations, or, you know, splinter organizations from SCP Foundation to also justify, their reasons for using SCPs for their own personal gain instead of using it for humanity. So yeah, this type of SCP should just be kept away if it's not going to be utilized for all of humanity. But yeah, it's an interesting SCP, very interesting. Like I said before, it's like a genie in a bottle, but it is a genie in a bell. Maybe not as powerful as the genie in the bottle, but it can do things. It can do things. Yeah. All right, guys, that's it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as TheVolgun's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys next week with another SCP Foundation video. Okay? Bye-bye.